Welcome, everyone. We are joined by head coach Gary Smith to preview the U.S. Open Cup match against San Antonio SC. Coach, your thoughts on how preparation was today? How's the team feeling today following Saturday's match?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very quick turnaround, the first midweek game of the season for us. So it was great to see the guys come in this morning in not only in good spirits, but also in good health. One or two of the little issues that we'd picked up at the weekend seem a tad more minor maybe than we'd first expected, which is also great news for the group, of course. So we're full steam ahead for Wednesday night.
Thank you, Coach. We're going to open the floor for questions. We'll kick it off with Ben Wright.
Yeah, Gary, you just mentioned that some of the issues are a little bit more minor. Do you have an update on Walker after he came off at the weekend? And then you had mentioned a while ago that you're maybe targeting this midweek game for Randall to come back. Do you expect him to be available, or do you think it might be a little bit longer?
I think with regards to Walker, as I mentioned after the game, he'd made it clear that his groin was tightening up during that first period. We wanted to get him out there. He wanted to see how it was going to react in that second half. But unfortunately, within that first 10 minutes, he was getting no relief from the problem that he'd had. And my hope was that by getting him out as early as I did, that there was going to be no lasting damage. And at this point, I think we've managed to achieve that. So it was mightily disappointing that he had to leave the game, and it's a gaping hole, of course, to fill. But at this point, it looks very much like it was just tightness. It hasn't gone beyond that into something more serious. So that's really good news. As far as Randall's concerned, he had his first session out on the field today. He's in a really good place, mentally and physically. And I would hope that we're not far away at the weekend. I think Wednesday's just going to be a little bit too soon for Randall. But we're certainly looking towards the weekend as an opportunity possibly to get him on the bench. But that'll be the first date that we look at, I think, at this point.
Ben, do you have any follow-ups?
You've talked a little bit about wanting to get some other guys in who hadn't played as much maybe in the league. Are you expecting to maybe bring in any of the guys who have played with Huntsville mostly this season, or do you think it's going to be largely guys who have been in the squad for league games but haven't really gotten on the field as much?
It'll be predominantly the guys that we've got here and a part of the senior roster. I've had discussions with Jack and Liam Doyle down at Huntsville about one or two of their guys, and we'll see if we can get a couple of those lads as part of the group. But I think the vast majority of this will be the players that we have here. As I said early on in the opening statement, I've been very, very pleased how the guys have turned around. Tough game at the weekend, an awful lot put into the game. And the discussion this morning was really all about the importance of this cup and where our mindset and the team's mindset is in this competition. And I don't think you'll be shocked to hear that the guys are looking forward to this competition, and to that degree the majority of the group will be this first team group.
That's it for you, Ben?
One more if possible.
Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously San Antonio are a really good team, USL champions. You've had plenty of experience with USL, but I'm curious what you've seen of them in preparation for this game and kind of what you're expecting from them on Wednesday.
Well, the view of them will be limited, of course, but I've done my best to get back over some footage of San Antonio. Plenty of respect needs to be given for what they achieved last year and the way that Alan has recruited with this group. And they have a number of players that have been part of MLS and have got MLS experience. So this won't be a cakewalk by any stretch of the imagination. They are a very, very competitive side. They are incredibly well organised, and they will come to our place and see an opportunity to advance. They won't be coming here as cannon fodder at all. So I expect Alan to put out his strongest group. That strongest group will be incredibly competitive. They are quite a direct side, but that direct nature, by its sense, makes the game very competitive and very difficult. So, as I've said earlier on in the comments, if we want to do well in this competition, then we've got to go into it with the right attitude and the right group. So to that degree, expect to see a team that compete against what I class as one of the top 3 USL teams, with obviously Louisville and Tampa in my mind, those top 3 groups. He's done an incredibly good job there, Alan.
Claudio, go ahead with your questions.
Gary, a lot of times when teams start playing this Open Cup, Nashville not being the case, because you guys showed last season how important it was for you, and I believe the same this time. But a lot of times people think that that MLS Cup is what it is, and then whatever else is just another game. I just want to remind a couple of data here. This U.S. team play on a competition that plays 472 games a year, and 400,000 fans just attended this type of games last season. It's a great number, so just in case. And I put that into perspective just to ask you this. How different did you expect this to be in terms of what you guys tried to do this year? And also taking into account that this team has a coach that is a former MLS player, on Coach Messina, and who knows the league and the system very well, doesn't he?
He does, and he's got a wealth of experience. I know Alan, and I have a reasonable relationship with Alan that goes way back to my time and short period of time in NASL. He's very, very well organised and ultra competitive. But within all of that, the recruitment's vital to the way that you want to play. And his teams are always competitive. Predominantly a back 3, a group of players that are very, very industrious. They stick rigidly to their philosophy and expect that this team's going to be working the ball into difficult areas for us to deal with. Players that are very well drilled in the way that they play, and I expect them to put us under a lot of pressure here. I don't think they'll come here and sit back and let us do our thing. Their game's all about energy and pressure and competition. But yes, Alan will have a clear picture of us and of the league. The one thing he won't have a very clear picture of is obviously Geodis, because of the new nature of the stadium. And we need to take full advantage of that with the group that we put out. But we're taking it very, very seriously. It's a great opportunity to do well, to build some momentum and confidence. And, as you rightly pointed out, we didn't take it lightly last year, and we won't this year.
Claudio, do you have any follow-up questions?
Yes, Gary, obviously, and already Ben mentioned a little bit of it, these questions, but this is opportunity also for players that have not been seeing minutes, obviously for many of your reasons. How do you feel the team in terms of these guys that might have a chance? We don't know the 11, of course, at this point, but these guys that have some chance of some minutes for them to show you what they're capable of, even on an Open Cup game.
Well, listen, I'll be clear on this. There'll be 1 or 2 guys in this group that are in and around, at the moment, what we would class as the periphery of the first team or starting 11 in the league games. So 1 or 2 of those guys will be in this group. And to your point, this is a fabulous opportunity for whoever they are to put themselves in a stronger position for selection. Unfortunately, because of the fixtures that we've had, some of them are a long way away from those pre-season games. But what we have been able to do is make sure that any of those guys that have not been playing regularly are getting minutes down in Huntsville. And I think you may well have seen that we've had the likes of Gregus and Anunga and Taylor and guys that are in and around the group, but they've also been playing for the reserve team. So these guys are ready, should they be needed, and it's their chance to stake a claim for what comes at the weekend. The first team group put on a terrific performance as starting 11, but I also thought when Jan came into the game, he had a terrific period of time. You know, more intensity about his game. Slowly but surely, without a pre-season, we're seeing that individual that I saw in Minnesota and San Jose. A lot of intensity. He's always had a lot of quality, but that match sharpness is something that he needs to get back in his game. Same for Taylor Washington. When he came on, you can see that he's had minutes. You can see that he's ready and there's appetite there. And these cup games are all about that for some of those guys. It's their chance. And it's an opportunity to really make the best of it.
Is that it, Claudio?
Last one for me, just to kind of get into this. Well, Gary, of course, we already stated, and you already said it very well, that this is not an easy team by any means. Is that better for you in terms of the preparation going forward, especially after since you have to get a home a team like Atlanta United this coming Saturday? Would it not be better this type of tough game and get instead of an easier one to prepare?
I'm not sure there's really any relevance to that, Claudio. You know, we've just played LAFC, arguably the best MLS team currently. We'll play Atlanta United, arguably the best Eastern Conference team. You know, a wealth of talent and quality. So I think we need to take and compartmentalise this. Yes, it will be a challenge, but it's a cup game. It's a one-off. Whoever goes out on the field on Wednesday, I need to know that they've got the right mentality, they're going to be in the right physical position, and we've got the right group to go out and win a game. That's really my main focus. Whatever happens beyond that towards Atlanta, whether I need to take players out of the game because we're in a good position on Wednesday to give guys a rest, you know, and how I need to manipulate that on Wednesday evening may well depend on where the game's going and how it's going. But ultimately, I want to win it. I want to be in the hat for the next round, and I want to be ready for the weekend as well. So I've got a couple of things in my mind, but a lot of that might well be dictated by the way the game unfolds.
Valer, go ahead.
Yeah, Gary, this is the 108th edition of this competition, and it's I just was curious to see what is the importance of this competition to this country, to soccer here in America, and then as someone who's been on both sides in the lower divisions as well as MLS, what are the differences there in terms of managing a team of those calibers?
Well, look, first and foremost, a cup competition represents something completely different. It is very much like the playoffs because, you know, you got one game to get it done or you're out of the competition. So there are some similarities there, but you know, American culture is very much about the playoffs. The season works towards that, and I think this Open Cup competition can sometimes be a little bit overlooked by the fans because of the way that culture is over here in all sports. But if you look anywhere else in the world, they do have domestic cup competitions, and it creates an awful lot of excitement and passion. You know, the FA Cup, of course, in England has a huge history, and there have been some wonderful games that we could look back on over the course of history in England for the finals. It also represents a great opportunity for whoever wins this competition, and we saw last year we were pipped by Orlando on penalties in the quarterfinals, and they went on to win it and get themselves a Champions League spot. So there's so much in terms of what we can achieve, if you like, and want to achieve down the line to put ourselves really at the next level and into that Champions League situation. So everyone that enters this is looking forward to doing well. They see the carrot at the end of the competition. But as Claudio's already noted, whatever guys are in the group for us that haven't been part of the team, it's also a big opportunity to stand out. Now for San Antonio or any team outside of MLS, it's their big moment to cause an upset. And I think if you look back on the competition in general, there have been many of those upsets. And it'll be our job to not be, in that position come the end of the game on Wednesday evening.
Ethan, how has a very short week, a very quick turnaround, how's the team feeling in preparation for Wednesday's US Open Cup match?
Yeah, I think that the team is well prepared. It's like our first Wednesday turnaround of the season, so definitely bodies are all over the place. But I do believe that this group's got a good mentality going about it, and I guess we're fortunate as well that all 3 games this week are at home. So I think we're in a good place, and the preparation's been right, and I think we're ready.
We are going to open the floor for questions. We'll kick it off with Valer. Valer, if you have more than one question, go ahead with asking them.
Ethan, we just heard Coach Gary talk about the importance of bringing in guys who haven't maybe been involved. How hard is it from a player perspective to not have those game minutes and having to jump in and play in a competition like this?
Yeah, I think it's probably the most difficult thing in soccer is to be obviously, like you said, just not exactly in the mix at the moment, and then just having to be ready whenever you're called. So I guess it's part of being a professional. And, you have to stay professional every day in training so that if you are called, you have to be ready. I think that guys are expecting the Open Cup to be one of those opportunities. So for me, I've been desperate to play. So when it does come the time on Wednesday, I think that my desperation, my hunger, will overcome the challenge of obviously having to get ready in such a quick turnaround and not having, the minutes behind you that you'd want.
And then one more for me. You obviously scored that incredible goal against Atlanta last time out in the Open Cup at Geodis Park. Does that come to mind when you're preparing for this game for you personally? Are you thinking about it?
I mean, definitely. I mean, the thing that comes to mind for me is that, the Open Cup last year was the opportunity actually for me to, to try to bounce back and to get myself more minutes in the MLS games as well. So I've got the same mentality right now. I'm like, hey, I want to be dangerous out there. I want to be creating opportunities as much as I can for myself and obviously for the team and to have a good performance so that, not only can we can win and move on to the next round, but as well so I can, I want to contribute more to the team for sure. I think every guy in the group, wants to find themselves doing that. So I think this is an opportunity for me to definitely, try to make some more magic happen this year in an Open Cup game. That's always on my mind.
Is that it for you, Valer?
Yep, all good.
Wonderful. Ben, go ahead.
Yeah, Ethan, Valer kind of touched on it, but you've had personal success in the Open Cup. You guys came really close last year. Well, obviously that lost to Orlando, but you made a really strong run. I think maybe this isn't a tournament that's like valued as much in the U.S. as it is like with the FA Cup in England, but I'm curious what your perspective on the tournament and as a player, what it means to you and what you guys are looking to achieve this year.
Yeah, I think that overall, I think the group views it as another chance to win silverware for the club, especially since the club hasn't won any yet. So I think that that's definitely part of it. I do think that, another mentality or perspective on it is that it is an opportunity for guys, especially this game, to try to, get an opportunity to play against a good side. This team won the USL Championship last year. They're still a great side, so I think it's a good opportunity to test us. But definitely, I think at the end of the day, everyone wants to take this cup super seriously. It is another competition that we will be a part of, and if we're going to be doing that, then we're going to put our full effort into it. So definitely not taking it easy on anything. We want to go in there and win games.
And then last one for me. You talked about kind of the challenge of not necessarily playing a ton of minutes, but then having to be ready for a game. played some for Huntsville this year. I'm curious what that brings to the table. Because last year you didn't have that option, and so if you weren't playing for Nashville, you weren't getting minutes. But now you have the option of Huntsville. How does that help you stay ready?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. We talked about it, a bunch of the guys actually. When I was with the Galaxy, it was the same thing. I think it was the luxury of having a second team when you just got like 5+ games where you're just not playing, or you're playing maybe 15 minutes coming off the bench. It is good to be able to have that, because when you do get these opportunities, you want to be sharp. So I was able to go down and play against Orlando a couple weeks ago. It hadn't gotten, 60+ minutes since the preseason. So I definitely needed it. And that's going to be a big upgrade to have this year, because when I do get these opportunities, I do want to be as sharp as possible. Like we were talking about, it's just such a big challenge to be able to just say, okay, Ethan, you're going to go start a game, and we need to, to play at the best of your ability. So in order to do that, I do think that, Huntsville and having that as an option when needed is definitely going to be crucial to helping me in these situations.
All right, Claudio, go ahead.
Ethan, from the outside looking in, anybody might say that Nashville should beat any USL team anytime they play. Of course, you're the one doing the job, you know better than we all do. How different it is actually to go and play one of these Open Cup games in the MLS, or there's no difference. It's still a great competition, isn't it?
Yeah, I would agree. And like I just said, they're definitely not, a slouch of a side. They're very good. They're a USL championship. They won the whole thing last year. So whenever you're going into a game like this, obviously they have a lot to play for. They want to beat MLS sides, and you could see that happens. Sacramento makes the final last year. And so you're going to play against a lot of energy against good players. So you have to treat these games as if you would treat it as an MLS game, because obviously, from the outside in, like you said, everyone expects you to win. So we have to respect our opponent, but at the same time, we have to bring something that we know if we do bring it, we should be winning these games. So I think it's all mentality. You can't treat them like we're going to be given this game. We have to bring from our side our own mentality and our own strength in order to win these games. Because if you don't, you're going to get punished.
Now, from your own perspective as a player in the team, how difficult has it become to actually try? Because we all know, as well as you do, that you want to get minutes in the main team and the MLS for sure, and that's what you work every day for. But how difficult has that become? Because obviously the competition and the good guys that you have as teammates within the team.
Yeah, it's difficult for sure, because day in and day out, I come to train and I come to, obviously to win minutes. Obviously, there are, I've got good guys that I'm competing against. Like you said, I've got CJ, I've got Teal. They're obviously very experienced guys. But I do come in every day to fight and to earn those minutes. And that's at the end of the day what I want. I want to play and I want to help this team succeed in the MLS, and I do want to be out there all the time. So it's hard. It's hard for sure mentally. But the only thing that you can do, if you let it weigh in on your mentality every day at training, then that's going to affect the way you train, and that's going to put you in an even worse situation. The only thing that I can do is perform in training, and when I do get the opportunity like this in an Open Cup match, I want to use that word again. I want to be desperate to play well, and I want to be desperate to create chances so that we can score, so I can score goals, so that I can create opportunities for my teammates. So yeah, that's how I'd put it. I'm desperate right now to do what I can to create more opportunities for myself.
Is that it, Claudio?
One just on that desperation word that you keep using. Now, I bet your experience will help you on this, but just like to know your take. How much desperation gets you if you're going to play a team like this, a game like this, instead of helping you? How does a player control that desperation, eager not to actually mess up, to be honest with you, and then you have a good game?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. It really is. I would say it's definitely a balance to be found, like you're saying, because if you're too erratic out there, if your mind is overblown with the, hey, I need to be doing something, and you're forcing something, then yeah, you're right. It could show in your play, because you won't, you won't be a fluid part of the team and what the team has planned for the game. So you have to be hungry in a sense, but it has to be a controlled hunger, because if it's rabid, then it's just not going to work. So I'm desperate, like I said, but at the same time, it's going to be an efficient desperation that's going to work in regards to what the team has planned for this game.